Hello everyone, this is Candice Van Wyk. Thank you so much for joining me on my Reflections talk today. And apologies for not being able to do this live today. Unfortunately, I experienced some challenges and as a result, I couldn't do it live, but nevertheless, I was still able to do the recording. And of course, you are still able to see it today. So I'm very happy about that. But remember that even though we're not live, I would still like to hear from you. So please do share your comments with me. Any insights that you have, you're welcome to put that into the chat box wherever you are watching this from, whether it's on my Facebook page or my Instagram page or YouTube page. Please do engage with me. And for those of you who haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please do that. It's Reflections by Candice Van Wyk. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and also just click the let's button so that you can be notified, whenever I do new videos and share some new insights. Now, as you know, we are continuing on the topic of how to achieve your financial goals in 2021. So I said to you when I started earlier this year that this is going to be a series. I'm going to be covering various topics, and I'm not too sure when it's going to end. It will be dependent on, when I feel like I've been able to pour out everything that's really on the inside of me. And I still feel that there's quite a bit that I want to share, but from today's session, I really do believe that you're going to be getting a lot of insights and information to help you. Now, for those of you who didn't watch the previous parts, please go back and watch those parts on my YouTube channel or Facebook page, and you would be able to, really also appreciate the information that was shared, because it really sets the tone for what I'm talking about. But over and above that, it really puts in place a solid foundation. And it's so important for us to have our foundation right if we want to continue building on top of this. So if you want to achieve financial success in 2021, it's going to be important to, to see this as a construction project. You need to put your foundation in place, and then you need to build from there onwards. And that is why I say that the previous parts really, work on the foundation, which is very important. Because if your foundation is not solid, doesn't matter how high up you build or how wide you go, that foundation is not going to last very long. Why? Because that building is not going to last very long because that foundation is not solid. So that is why it's important to put the right foundation in place. And then I just want to remind you also that, remember that as part of what I've been sharing with you during the month of February or March, I think I did mention to you that, I think March actually, I shared with you that this is the book for the month. So From Debt to Riches. So some of you may have seen it on my social media pages. And I did say to you as well that I was going to be sharing some insights from the book that I'm reading as well. So I love reading, and especially topics that are relevant to, my journey and what I'm also discussing as part of my reflections talks. Because I believe that whilst, I am empowering yourselves by sharing the information, I'm also empowering myself. So this is a journey. I'm by no means the expert. So I am really just sharing with you some insights. And obviously from time to time, I share my own experiences, and all with, the objective or the main goal to really inspire you and also to empower you and help you to move your goals forward. I'm very passionate about this topic, financial success. And my passion really started many years back, but I think it's really been enforced also by getting the right knowledge and information over the years. A lot of the insights that I also share from you are taken from, the Rich Dad Education way of moving our financial goals forward. And I also had the privilege and the opportunity to be one of their speakers here in South Africa from about 2016 for a few years. And of course, a lot of my foundation is also then rooted in that, and a lot of the insights I'm going to be sharing from that place as well. Now, it doesn't matter where you are in your financial journey today. I believe that what I'm going to be sharing with you will still be able to help you move forward. But this talk today is especially for those of you who are finding yourselves in difficult situations. So you may be finding yourself in a situation where, whether it was because of the impact of the COVID-19 impact that it's had, or maybe even prior to that, you already saw that you were kind of going on a downward spiral, and your finances were not doing great, maybe even for some time, maybe even before COVID, or maybe it even just worsened during COVID. I'm not too sure. But wherever you find yourself today, I want you to know that you are able to get out of that situation and start moving yourself forward. Now, please stay tuned, stay connected, because I'm going to be sharing various things with you from time to time. And I do believe that it will be able to help you. But okay, so one of the things that I want to focus on today is, as you can see, the topic, as I said, with regards to this book of the month, is From Debt to Riches. And that's what I want to focus on today, is that I want to focus on debt, and why do I want to focus on debt? Because debt is a bad thing if you are not leveraging it in the right way. And you'll understand what I say as I progress. But we get three different kinds of debt. We get good debt, we get bad debt, and then we get ugly debt. Okay, so I'm going to be taking you through those different types of debt, and it's important to understand it. But before I even take you through the different parts of, or different types of debt, it's important for you to make a decision where you are today and say to yourself that you want to get out of debt. So if you are listening to this talk today, it's because you are finding yourself in a situation where you have debt, and a lot of bad debt maybe, or even ugly debt, and you want to get out of that situation. You just want to be in a place where you are comfortable, and where you may not have necessarily the pressure of having to meet those financial commitments every month. So you just want to get to a stage where you and your family are comfortable, and some of you may even want to get to a stage where you are very wealthy and rich. All of us have different goals. Whatever it is that you want to do, you need to make a decision and then decide what it is that you want to achieve. But upfront, you need to make a decision that whether it's to become wealthy and very successful financially, or whether it's just to become comfortable, whatever that goal is, or maybe if it's just to become financially independent or free, maybe have, enough income in place that you don't necessarily have to work your job or work your business. Whatever it is that you're looking for, you need to know what it is. And if you are not sure about what it is that you're wanting to achieve, then you need to get sure, become sure. So you need to, work on your dream or work on your vision board. I always talk about this, and I talk about the power of a vision board and about a dream wall. And I've seen that power in my own life, that when I put my dreams out there, I can't tell you how many times my dreams have come to pass. And I still use the tool today. A lot of successful people have a dream wall or vision board in place. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's really just a canvas board that you buy from a stationery shop, and you put words and pictures that represent your main goals, and you put it on there, and you put it in a place where you are able to see it all the time. And one of the things that I also do is that every time I walk past it, I say to myself that my dreams are possible. My dreams are possible. So we have to continue motivating ourselves, inspiring ourselves. And obviously, the more you say it, the more you believe it. And eventually, when you are fully persuaded, you will then manifest whatever it is that you are believing God for. So very, very important. Put your vision boards together and find any word or picture that represents your main goals or your main dreams. If you don't know what they are, just find things that appeal to you, that really stand out for you. I mean, I've cut out words that I can't link them to a specific goal or a specific dream, but there's just something about that word or that picture that stands out for me. And then I obviously just cut it out, or I print it and I put it onto my dream wall. But okay, so the first thing is that it starts with making a decision that you want to get out of bad debt, or you want to be debt free. And I think everyone should desire that. Every one of us should want to be debt free. And you need to make that decision. So before you even talk about, becoming financially successful, it's about first becoming debt free. I really believe that's a good place to start. And then we're going to be looking at good debt versus bad debt, and there's even ugly debt, which I'm going to be touching on. And then I'm just going to be giving you or sharing some tips with you of how you're able to get out of debt. Now, what I want to talk about is, so we also learn from Rich Dad Education that not all debt is bad debt. And even the author of Debt to Riches talks about good debt and bad debt as well. And you can go and read it yourself. But as Rich Dad education also teaches us that we need to understand what good debt is and bad debt is. And good debt is really when you leverage debt so that you are able to acquire an income generating asset. Okay, so let me give you an example. So let's say, for example, you buy a property, an income generating property, you leverage a home loan to do that. You don't necessarily stay in the property, or maybe you might stay in the property and maybe rent a portion of it out, but you're using it to generate income that can take care of the home loan responsibilities or mortgage bond responsibilities. And at the same time, you're also able to cover all the other expenses against the property, and then you're still able to generate profit income as part of that particular property transaction or property deal. So that's when you are leveraging debt and you're putting it into an income generating asset. And in this case, I obviously use the example of a property. Okay, so that is what we consider to be good debt. Okay, and you must remember that's very important. So for those of you who are looking to acquire property, you know, think of also acquiring property not just as your personal residence, but, you know, see if you are able to acquire property, rent it out, generate profit income from that deal that is now not only paying off that asset, but now you've got profit income that you could potentially use maybe towards taking care of your residential needs or other financial needs, whatever it is. So you're going to have to look at that transaction and see. And even if you have a property today and you maybe have a cottage on the property, or you're able to convert a garage into a little cottage and rent that out for income, think of doing those types of things as well. So if you're in a situation today and you are maybe in a position to do that, you know, to generate additional income, then I would definitely encourage you to consider doing that as well. But remember, as I've said in previous talks as well, it's always important to run your numbers. So you need to make sure that whatever investment strategy you're going to be considering, you need to ensure that you're going to be able to generate, you know, profit income from that transaction, you know, either immediately or in the near future. But you need to know what type of income you're going to be generating. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that, and I'll be elaborating a little bit more. But I just want to get back to the book. So there are really some good tips and insights that the author shares here. And one of the things that she talks about is the cost of debt. And that's so important to understand the cost of debt. You know, so you also need to understand what are the interest rates involved. So when you acquire debt, okay? And remember, and let's use the home loan scenario, for example, you know, don't just, you know, if you're looking for a home loan, go to your bank and whatever interest rate they give you, that's the first interest rate that you accept. And you then decide you're only going to be working with your bank. So ensure that you do comparisons, you know, that you actually find a good bond originator that you can work with. And if you're in South Africa, you can go into the Property Pick website, propertypick.co.za. They've got a very good bond originator that they work with. And of course, you'd be able to also, you know, leverage that bond originator so that you are able to allow them to go out on your behalf and then get the best interest rates. Don't just go with the first interest rate that you get. They're the experts at this. They know what they're doing. They'll ask you to provide some information, of course, but then they will go and shop around for you and ensure that you get the best rate. They don't charge you a fee for this, but they ensure that you get the best rate. So just remember that. So if you want to buy a property, then I would definitely say go onto the Property Pick website and leverage the bond originator that they have there. But very important. So you need to know, you know, what your interest rate is going to be, because your interest rate will determine what your repayment is going to be. And in this case, we're talking about a property. So you need to understand that. Okay, so I'm not necessarily going to go into the different types of rate, the repo rate and the prime rate. So the author does talk about that, but you're welcome to go and read up on that yourself. But the other thing that I want to mention is that she talks about the limits on interest rates. And I think this is so good because, you know, we need to understand this, because as you're going to be making better decisions going forward, you need to know what limits on interest rates are, and specifically what interest rates you have in place today. So if you have credit cards in place today, or if you have a home loan, or you're considering a home loan, motor vehicles, all of those things, you need to know what your interest rate is on it. And you also need to know what your repayment is. And some of you may even have facilities such as overdrafts or personal loans. It's so important to know what those interest rates are, because, you know, as you're going to be making a decision on taking care of the bad debt, you want to know where you need to start first, because, you know, it's always important to start with the most expensive debt first. What I mean by that is that you need to start with, you know, the highest interest rate in terms of what that particular debt is. And generally how I approach it, or you know, where my starting point is, or where I started, if I can say that. So I look at, you know, what debt do I have? So what debt do I have in my life today? I've also done this exercise. What are the interest rates, you know, across the various debt? And then also, what is the most expensive debt? So where are the highest interest rates, and what is the monthly premium that I'm paying on that? And then make a decision from there onwards. Okay, so this is the highest debt. This is the debt that I want to take care of first. And then gradually, you know, I will then progress to the less expensive debt, which ends up most times being the bigger debt, which is then things like your property, for example. So if you've got home loan facilities in place today, that will generally be your less expensive debt. And that's just because of interest rates. Okay, so do that exercise, go and do an analysis in terms of what interest rates you are paying across those various areas or various cards or facilities, and then, you know, make a decision from there onwards. But first, know what it is. Okay, so that's what I want to share with you as a start. And then the other thing that I want to share with you, and this is really a good tip that the author shared. So she talks about the secret of the rich. And what she's saying, and this is on page 17 of the particular book, and what she says is that if you need additional items, so let's say, and she uses the example of a computer, for example. So she says that you might not necessarily have the cash to pay for that computer, but you could maybe pay it over 2 or 3 year period. So what happens most times is that you actually go into a shop and you go on to like some sort of a hire purchase agreement, and you then buy that particular item, and you pay it off most times over a 2 year period. Okay. Now, what she's saying here is that if you're in a position today, maybe where you are able to acquire a home loan facility, what is the maximum that you are able to take out as part of that particular home loan facility? Now, you will not necessarily, and remember, you need to do your numbers here, as I also share with you as far as property is concerned. You need to ensure that you run your numbers. However you're going to be leveraging the facility, you need to ensure that you run your numbers. And remember, you're looking to generate profit income at the end of the day. So even when you're considering using your facility for this means, you still need to ensure, you know, that you're going to be either break evening, or you're going to be, you know, generating positive profit income, because if you are not generating that, it's going to take money out of your pocket. So you need to have a plan and say, okay, either I'm generating income from day one, or I know that in maybe X amount of time, I'll be able to generate that income. But yeah, you need to make a very wise decision. It's a different decision for every single person. So what you're saying is, now, instead of now buying that computer on higher purchase and paying that high interest rate, you can now consider maybe taking just a little bit extra in terms of what you qualify for as part of your home loan. And then, of course, buy all of those extra items that you need. But the wise decision here is that you still need to pay it off the same period that you were if you were going to take it on higher purchase. You understand? So let's say you were going to pay it off a 2 year period. You still need to ensure that you cover that amount over a 2 year period. Otherwise, it's going to compound, and depending on how long your home loan facility is for, maybe 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, you might even end up paying the same amount or even more over that period of time. Okay. So just remember, it's almost like a short-term solution. So you're leveraging the facility to acquire the income-generating asset or the property, depending on what your strategy is. And at the same time, you are taking a little bit extra because you'll be able to afford the home loan, or your tenant will be able to pay off the home loan repayment, but you are still able to then take care of some of these smaller items that you need in order to be productive and continue moving your financial goals forward. So it's just a mindset shift, how we do things and how we think about things. So that's a very good tip that is shared there. And then another thing, and this is also something that I've learned as part of my Rich Dad journey, is that it's so important also for you to not always buy things on credit. In fact, what Rich Dad Education teaches us is that, work on acquiring the income generating asset first, and then once you've got that income generating asset in place and it's now giving extra income, now you can use some of that income and obviously take care of whatever, your need is. So always try and spend on the profit income that you have available or what you have access to in terms of cash, at the end of the month or end of the year, before you actually just leverage any facility. And we need to make these decisions going forward. We can no longer live the way we used to. Life is getting more and more expensive. Inflation rate continues to increase year by year, and cost of living is going up. And we all know that, and your income is not necessarily growing at the rate of inflation. So we have to make wiser decisions, as we move towards that place of putting in place income generating assets. And that is why it's so important to ensure that from where you are today, you might not be in a position today to maybe acquire property, but you can already start making better financial decisions. So instead of always just buying on account, wait until you've got extra cash available, to make that particular purchase. And if you don't have the cash available today, ask yourself, is it really necessary? Is it needed? Can it wait? And, this is how you start liberating yourself already and getting yourself out of really difficult situations. And, one of the things that I adapted to many years back, and I realized that I had a problem, every time I went to a shopping mall, because sometimes I had a specific need and I would know exactly why I'm going and obviously wanting to fulfill that need. But when I get to the shopping mall, now I'm tempted. Now I go into the shoe shops or the clothing shops or maybe accessories, whatever it may be, and I end up spending way more than what I had anticipated. But, after applying some wisdom and obviously, going through that mindset shift, I then decided, okay, I am not going to go to the mall unnecessarily. I'm only going to go when I really need to go. And also, I found different types of malls that I'm able to go to. So if I know that, that particular mall is like a problem area for me, then I would choose another mall that maybe doesn't have the same shops or, the same facilities and so on, just to make it harder for myself. And of course, with time, you start unlearning some of those bad habits. And of course, you're able to make wiser decisions going forward. So we have to be wise, like, for example, like one of the things even the author shares is that if you have store cards in your wallet or in your purse, then just ensure that you take them out, so that you don't end up spending what you didn't intend to spend. Because sometimes we can do that as human beings, it's what's attractive to the eye, and then you make decisions based on that. So we also need to help ourselves to make better decisions going forward. So if something is too tempting for you, stay away or find another place that you're able to go to, so that you don't have to spend, on unnecessary items that are not priority and that you don't need. Very important. So just some practical tips that I'm just sharing with you, in terms of how you're able to manage your debt better going forward, and, how you can get out of debt. So remember, I already mentioned that it's important to understand that we have good debt, and then how we can leverage good debt. And then I also want to focus on the bad debt, which is really, where you just leverage facilities and, it's not generating any profit income for you, or you're not able to buy an asset with it, or, you're not able to start a business that will eventually bring an income for you, So whatever it is, it's just debt that you are leveraging. For example, things like, like the example that I just made now about store cards, for example, clothing shops and jewelry shops and shoes and, technology, equipment, things that we don't necessarily need, but we just end up spending because we've got the facility in place, we've got the cards and that type of thing. But now you buy on credit, which means that you've got the interest rates attached to it. And of course, that can become a difficult situation. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you have been there. So you can also relate. Some of you may be there at this time, so you can relate. I mean, I can definitely relate. You know, before I had my mind renewed, I really did things all in the wrong way. You know, and of course, as I started renewing my mindset, renewing my thinking, and learning about all of these things, I started making better decisions, you know, for myself as well. So that's what it's about. And then, of course, the ugly debt is then, you know, where you start leveraging another facility to pay for another facility. And, you know, then it means you are really, really in trouble, because now you can no longer afford it. You're using, for example, like a credit card to pay for another credit card, or to pay for, you know, groceries or whatever it is that you need to settle. So just remember, we need to ensure that we make better decisions today so that we can start getting out of the bad debt situation. So, you know, start taking care of the debt that's taking out so much money out of your pocket every day. So with the extra income that you're generating every month or every year, you can now take that income and put it into those, you know, pots that are really taking out so much of your pocket every day. You start prioritizing and making better decisions. And yes, eventually you will get to a place where you can now start doing the holidays, and, you know, you can start doing the, you know, buying the nice toys, whatever it is that you need. But you first need to get out of that situation where you are today. So Rich Dad Education also teaches us that we need to acquire income generating assets, and those income generating assets will be able to take care of our lifestyle needs, because we also have lifestyle needs. But if you are not in a position to fund your lifestyle needs today, you're going to have to make sacrifice so that you can first take care of these situations that are, you know, that need your attention. So I think that's important. And just remember that this is going to be a journey. You won't be able to do all of this, you know, just in a matter of months or maybe even a year. For some of us, it may take us some time, but the important thing is to start settling the, you know, getting rid of the bad debt in your life, so that you can have more financial freedom in the month, start generating additional income. And then as you start taking care of the bad debt, now you can start taking care of the good debt as you move your financial journey forward. And remember, a good thing is to consider starting with the most pressing debt first. So the most expensive debt first, and then work your way forward from there onwards. So I hope the insights that I've shared today were able to help many of you. And I will continue to share some more insights with you. But I just thought that, you know, it's important for us to understand the different types of debt and the importance of making better decisions when it comes to debt and acquiring things, you know, as we're going to be moving our financial goals forward. If you are in a place where you're able to generate additional income, whether it's through income generating assets, or maybe, you know, through a multi-level marketing strategy, or even a business strategy, investment strategy, whatever it may be. But if your mindset hasn't been adapted to managing that income in the right way, you're going to be making bad decisions going forward. So you first need to get yourself into a habit of making good financial decisions, because it doesn't matter how much of income you acquire. If you don't know what to do with that money, you are going to be making bad decisions, you know, all the way forward. So that is why it's important for you to understand the importance of making the right decisions. And if you don't know how to make better decisions, you get the right information, the right knowledge. You know, we read the right books, listen to the right talks, and we get all of this information. There's so many different platforms. And of course, Reflections and connecting with me is another platform just to get some insights and learnings. But please do feel free to share with me some of your information and some of your insights. I would love to hear from you. As I say, iron sharpens iron, and we're always learning from one another. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for connecting with me today. And I will continue to share some insights, and there's so many things that I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the credit bureau and how you're able to use that. I want to talk to you about how you're able to actually, when is the best time to, you know, pay your debt and things like that, because that's also going to help you on your journey forward. So there's so much more that I want to share with you, just in terms of the insights that I'm receiving through the book, and of course some insights that I've received through my own personal journey, as well as getting the Rich Dad Education training. So I really want to continue sharing some more insights with you as we move forward on this journey. So once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for connecting today. And I look forward to connecting with you all soon. God bless you. And remember, stay positive, stay focused, stay committed on this journey. And I do believe that if you are focused, committed, and positive, you will achieve your financial goals. All the best, everyone. God bless you.